We were in Rose Bay scouting around for a subject, and we noticed this large school building up on the hill. So we went up for a closer look, thought to ourselves, you know what, I think this needs a bit of elevation. So we got the drone up and definitely got the shot. So I thought, this one's definitely for the studio. Let's see how I go. I think one of the big misinterpretations of an artist's life is that you're just mixing up a bit of paint and you're pushing this around, but a lot of people don't realise that you've got to prepare your boards, make sure you've got plenty of paint, brushes, mediums, solvents to finish off for the day, and that's really just the painting part. There's a lot of legwork, a lot of effort that goes into just finding subjects. Sometimes that can be a lot of driving, a lot of walking, and sometimes finding that right vantage point is the key to really pushing it to that next level. And I think a subject like this I do love because of the history behind the building as well. I think that's nice to capture, but also just the technical difficulty of it as well. A little similar to sort of a period sort of building with the sandstone, and Sydney actually does have quite a bit of sandstone locally, so they would have accessed the sandstone from close by, most likely. I don't know that for 100% fact, but it was such a find really, and such a magnificent building just in its own right. And one of the tricky parts is really tying this composition together. It's so easy to isolate shapes, and it's so important to make sure that we're really tying the right to the left, the top to the bottom. Even though you can almost argue that the roof line, the apexes, where the bottom of the roof, that does help. But we're always pushing to make sure I get unification first. And ultimately, I'm aiming for distance, not detail. You've got to keep thinking, how can I create a three-dimensional effect? Because if my values are on song, if my drawing's accurate, normally the illusion of detail looks after itself, because nothing like a beautiful splash of sunlight that's been rendered and captured well to really sort of interest the viewer's eye, to really sort of mark your spot on this subject. So I'll just get this background in. It was quite a greyish day, and there wasn't a great deal of light in the background. And sometimes many a times, that really can work in my favour as well, because a greyed off background, all I need to do is put light and warmth, and I've got depth. So just be careful that I try and line this tower up, and I don't get it leaning over. But the one great thing with all my paintings, indoor, outdoors, is that I always have a period of reflection, just checking, thinking, how can I improve it? Do I need to actually take things out? A lot of times we think, oh boy, it's more, shall we put more in? Does it need more? But most times it's actually taking things out. Especially with quite a busy scene like this. Here we go for a little bit of liquid sunshine. It's mostly just titanium white, a little bit of yellow ochre. But that's why I always sort of think to myself, wherever there's light, there's got to be plenty of white. So really I'm just tinting the white paint with that little local colour. And there's a nice set of gates, metal gates down here. So we can just start to line those up, but we don't want to overdo them because that's quite an easy way to pull focus from where I really want it, which is up on the right hand side, the tower and the sunlit wall. That's my kind of primary, secondary and tertiary focal areas. It's always nice once we get to the foliage area of a painting, because we do then know that when, especially in the foreground foliage, that we are getting close to finished. Not that we should be in a rush when we paint. I think every painting has its own natural speed, its own necessity of how fast I should work or need to work. So it's, and normally what I like to think of tempo, I always find if I'm painting too slow, then I tend to overwork. If I'm painting a little too fast, I can get a little ragged. So it's that, just that subtle balance between the two. And we'll just bring in some smaller brushes. This is, I believe, a size 3 Master's Choice. Compositionally, this really turned out to be quite tricky because I had to tie the left to the right, and the centre area was really kind of a big open, empty area. But I find the best trick is not to try and fill it up with information. Rely on your instincts, rely on the areas that are powerful, and then we live and die with that. Overall, really pleased with the painting. I hope you liked it. Yep.